What's going on, everybody? It is Rich here. I have spent some time playing around with iron farming and iron farm mechanics, and I believe I have come up with something original in terms of iron farming. It's definitely not the most efficient farm, but it was fun to build, and it's expandable. That's a good word for it. So each of these little pods can be built relatively quickly in a new game. The hardest block that you need to acquire is the soul sand right there, and you'll need to get a name tag. Otherwise, a little bit of hoppers to get started, but you don't need this many hoppers right away. You can start with 7 hoppers. But today I'm going to show you how to build this. And we will start with this killing tray down here. And then I'll show you how to build each one of these and exactly where to place them to maximize your production here. Real quick before I get started, I've tested this a few different ways. So I tested one single pod running. I ran it for AFK'd for 20 minutes, just in a creative world here, and I was getting about, after 20 minutes I had 96 ingots, so that's about 288 ingots per hour, equaling out to about 32 blocks of iron per hour. That's not bad. This does not take much to build. When I ran it with 2 pods, that one and that one, it about doubled, about 166 in 20 minutes, 498 for the hour, and that equals out to about 55.3 blocks of iron per hour. Now, when I added all 4 pods here, that's when the real production started. So with 4 pods set up exactly how you see it here, after 20 minutes I had 551 ingots. That, doing the math, multiplying that times 3 for 60 minutes in an hour, that comes out to 1653 ingots per hour, or about 183 blocks of iron per hour. So I'm pretty happy with that. This is way more than I'll ever need. Like I say, you know, early game you can build one of these, and if that's not producing enough iron, you can always add a second one or a third one or a fourth one. I mean, the possibilities are infinite. You can put this killing tray probably all the way at bedrock and build these pods all the way up to the sky. I don't remember what build limit is, 340 something. But either way, without further ado, let's get started. I'll do this in 2 parts. The first part I'll show you how to build the killing tray, like I said. Like I said again, you don't need all those hoppers right away. You can. I'll show you my reasoning. I'm gonna stop talking now. Let's just get into it. Okay, everybody, I am over here in a brand new creative world. Nice blank canvas. So we're going to start with the killing tray, as I said. Now, this killing tray is going to take up an area about 5 blocks tall, 11 blocks wide, and 22 blocks long. It's not going to be completely full of blocks, as you'll be able to walk under most of it. And in fact, you may actually, if you want to add anything special like an item sorter to sort out the poppies or anything like that, you'll need to actually have a little bit more space, but we're not going to get into that right now. So first things first, this very top corner right here, I'm going to put a piece of glass. This is my building block of choice, as I said. But I'm going to start with glass and come all the way down the length of the back. I'm going to drop it down 2 and kind of stair step down there. On this next one, the back side of the stair, I'm going to do the same thing. Mirror it over here. Once again, drop it down one more time. Just like that. And you actually don't need those there. You can have them if you want them. Not necessary though. Next, you are going to take, there's going to be water flowing, water sources right here along this back wall. So that'll drop down 1, it'll flow 8 blocks out this way. So we want this to be 8 blocks in this direction. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. After that, we just want to fill this platform in right here. Okay, just like that. Now, again, as I said, there's going to be water flowing. So let's build some sides up here. We don't want the water to flow off of the sides because that's going to direct our golems. We can go 1 block past just like that. This is half of your killing tray. Now what we want to do is mirror that onto the other side here. Okay, now mirrored, you should have something that looks a little bit like this, or exactly like this, I guess. Now, I just want to point out, I'm using glass for this. I'm doing it for 2 reasons. 1, for visibility. I'll use it for the pods up above also for visibility. But 2, for spawn proofing. I don't want... the pods should be high enough above this that no golems will spawn there. But at the same time, I also don't want other mobs spawning on the edge and then walking in and getting mixed in with my iron. And that's just, especially if I have a sorting system, that's a disaster waiting to happen. So now what we're going to want to do, what I suggest doing, especially if you're in survival, build yourself a little infinite water source here. Obviously now I'm in creative, so I don't really need this infinite water source, but you're going to want bottles of water, buckets of water all the way along the back here and all the way along the back on that side. So having an infinite water source would be very handy. So let's go ahead and do that. And as you can see, the water flows all the way over right to the edge here, but does not drop down. It'll only flow the 8 blocks. Get this side. And the same thing happens. Now, what we're going to want to do, I have to get rid of those. We want to build the sides down, both sides, just a little, 1 block past the water platform there. And the same underneath that water platform will connect the 2 of them. Now you will have to dig yourself out of here, but don't worry, because you're going to have to dig a little bit in here to put the hoppers in anyways, so might not be a bad idea to just have a little escape hatch right here. Now it's time for the signs. This level, all the way along, you're going to want to put a sign. This sign is going to be what holds our lava in place, but still allows our golems to pass through, stand on the hoppers, and let their drops fall into the hoppers. Their heads will be in lava level. They'll be burning, but their feet, where the ingots drop, will be on top of the hoppers and able to collect the ingots that they drop. Okay. Now on top of the signs, at each end, you should have four lava buckets. Again, I'm in creative, so it's a little bit easier, but in survival, 4 lava buckets isn't that hard to come by. So at each end, you're going to put 1 bucket at each end, or 2 buckets at each end, on each open spot there. Those should flow together and leave a 1 block gap in the middle. Iron golems are not big enough to fit in that 1 block gap, so it is perfect. No matter what, they'll be standing in lava, they'll be burning, and their drops will be ours. Let me get rid of this. Okay, now for the collection part. Let's get a couple of chests. We'll get some hoppers. And let's... As I said, we don't need a full 19 hoppers right away. We can start this with 7 hoppers. Oh, careful jumping in there, you'll start on fire like I just did. Maybe crouching would be better. So crouch jump into here so you don't set yourself on fire. Or alternatively, you could just set up the hoppers before you put the lava in and do it intelligently. So, for sure you need 1 hopper going into that chest, obviously. You need another hopper going into that hopper, and now you can... Stuck. You can get away with only having those 6 hoppers if necessary. I ran the farm with only those 6 hoppers, but as you get more and more iron golems, they tend to start coming out to the side. So I would only suggest using 6 hoppers if you're only going to have 1 pod up there. Otherwise, I highly suggest using all the hoppers that I mentioned. And just like that, you have your killing platform set up. You can get rid of all of this. Don't need any of this. This was just for measurement. So you should have something that looks just like that. Now your golems will fall into this area right about here. They'll slide down, hit the lava, and their drops will go into the hoppers, soon to be yours, on both sides. Like I said, you can always throw like a little item sorter down under here. You may have to dig down a few blocks, but that's completely up to you. So next I will move on to the pod itself. Okay, everybody. Now for the pod construction. I will put up a quick material list on the screen here. Again, you've got your building blocks of choice. I will be using glass again for most of it. However, you do need 24 spawnable building blocks. This is where your golems will be spawning, so that's very important. I'll use stone for that, just to keep it simple. And then just a bunch of miscellaneous, some stairs, some walls, some slabs, some signs to hold water in. The beds are important. You need 3 beds for your villagers to attempt to sleep in. A couple of trapdoors block the line of sight. Just a torch to light it up so no other mobs spawn. The soul sand is important for keeping the zombie bobbing up and down. Obviously a name tag to make sure the zombie doesn't despawn. And then a couple of water buckets will create probably an infinite water source up there, but I will show you if you're only using 6 or 7 hoppers, like I'd mentioned, there's a certain way you should place the water up here, but I'll get into that. So first things first, not from the very corner, but 1 block in from the corner, just like this, you're going to go up 16 blocks. Now, it will be handy to have a few temporary blocks on you. From the 16th block, we're going to make a little bit of an L. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, in 1, and that's where you're going to place your soul sand, right there. That's going to be the bottommost block in the pod. So we're going to build this thing from the bottom up. So now we're going to create our chamber for the zombie to bob up and down in. So what we want to do is make a little 2 block tall, 1 block wide chamber, just like that for the zombie. And then we're going to cover that in slabs. We do not need those temporary blocks anymore. That was just to get the correct placement for the soul sand. From there, we can put some water in there to create a 1 block tall bubble column. Okay, now from this little zombie holding bubble column chamber, you're going to place 1 block there in that corner, going in the direction of the center of the killing chamber. And you're going to place a temporary block right there. And then around the other side, you're going to place another slab. You can get rid of that temporary block. And then let's place 2 more slabs right there. Now, you're going to want a couple more temporary blocks right under these slabs. That's where you're going to place your beds. So we can place 1, 2, 3 beds. Important that the heads are facing away from the killing chamber, like so. Now, this is where your building blocks of choice will come in. Like I said, I'm using glass for visibility purposes, but you don't have to. You could make this out of something else if you wanted. I mean, early game, you could make it out of cobblestone if you wanted. But we're going to put 1 block there. We're going to come up 2, so it should be 3 tall. We'll come across 2. We're going to leave this open right here so that the zombie, as he bobs up and down, he can view the villagers and scare the villagers. Now what you want to do is completely enclose your little bed capsule. Like that. Before we put a roof on it, we're going to want to stick a torch in here. Anywhere, it doesn't have to be there, but we just want to make sure that it stays light enough in there to prevent mobs from spawning inside with the villagers. That would be bad. Okay, now we're going to stand right here next to our zombie chamber here, and right under those 2, right at the top of this little opening here, we're going to place 2 trapdoors. It seemed to work best for me with trapdoors. Slabs were just a little bit too tall, I think. I think it blocked too much line of sight, but with trapdoors it worked well. And this is just going to allow the line of sight to be broken between the zombies and villagers and allow them to sleep every once in a while. Okay, before we get too much farther here, I don't believe this is 100% necessary, but I do it just for precaution. I place a slab, make sure it's a bottom half slab right here, just to prevent any daylight from hitting the zombie. You don't want to kill him. It's important that he's there. Next, we'll start working on the top here. This is going to be not only the roof above the villagers to protect them, but it's also going to be your spawning platform for your iron golems. So what we're going to want to do is completely cover the top of this in a 4x6 platform, except for the very front. This is where you're going to want to put your stairs. Again, any stairs will do, don't have to be stone. I'm just using stone to match up with the rest of my spawning platform here. Okay, so now we've got the spawning platform built. We need to enclose it because we're going to need to put some water in here. So, start on one of your back corners, doesn't matter which. You're going to want to place a wall and use that more or less as a temporary block. I guess it doesn't have to be a wall, you could place anything. But what we're going to want to do is don't fall like I did. Bring these walls forward all the way to one past your stair. So it should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out. You don't need one in the corner here. You're definitely more than welcome to have one there, but it's not necessary. Then we'll come all the way along the back, 6. Again, a temporary, and another 6 on this side to make it even. 1 past your stairs. Now is where you're going to want to put your signs. So your signs, we're going to put right along here. You can shift click them or crouch place them. Crouch place them to get them all stacked on top of one another here, and that's going to hold your water in. And now is where we're going to want to put the water. So, as I said before, if you're only using the 7 hoppers down there, what we need to do is we kind of up here will filter the iron golems more towards the center because we don't want them going off to the sides over here. The lava won't push them fast enough over to those 7 hoppers, and they'll fall down to the side and you'll lose your drops. So up here, what we'll do is we'll filter them towards the center. The golems will drop right in the center and then fall right there on top of those hoppers. However, that being said, once you have more pods, you're going to have too many golems to fall in the center, and you're going to need them to fall off to the side to start killing them. So at that point, you're going to need to have hoppers all the way along, and you're going to need to be collecting drops all the way along. So here's the differences. If you're using less hoppers, you only need a water source in the back 2 corners. And as you can see, that kind of filters. You can follow the track of the water there. It filters the water towards the center. However, again, like I said, if you need the golems to kind of spread out along here, what you're going to want to do is you're just going to want to create all water source blocks along the back here. Now you can see it's just flowing straight out. So a golem could spawn here and drop over to the side, and then he's going to fall further off to the side, spawn in the middle, drop in the middle, fall in the middle, again spawn on the side, drop on the side, fall on the side. It'll spread them out a little bit more. And when you have multiple pods, like we'll have shortly, it's going to be worth it. Okay, this step is very important. As I said before, you need a name tag. If you do not name your zombies, they will despawn, and your farm, typing is easy, your farm will not work without the zombies. So at this point, everything is ready to go on this farm, except for your villagers and your zombies. So I think everybody pretty much knows how to move a villager or a zombie by now, but there's many ways. If it were me, I would probably suggest using a bubble column up along the backside here. Just build one, you know. Oh, I knocked my torch out. What I would do is I would just build one straight down here and just have them pop up here and walk right in for the villagers. The zombie, you could use the same column and then just create a different path over, however you want to do it. But I'm just going to throw these spawn eggs in here. So at this point, like I say, we need to get our villagers and our zombies in here. So we'll put a zombie in here. Make sure this is an adult zombie and it is not a baby zombie. The little zombies will not work for this. And again, make sure you name your zombie, or at least give them an item to throw and hold on to. You can also start putting your villagers in here. You'll need 3 villagers in each pod, unless you want to only do 2 and then breed the 3rd one, but then you have to give them food. That's your decision. Now, let's get rid of this. Now, it's daytime right now. These zombies, these villagers will not try to spawn an iron golem until they have attempted to sleep one time. So what we're going to do is we're going to quick make it nighttime. And now they're attempting to sleep. That was perfect. All 3 of them attempted to sleep right away. A golem should spawn any minute now. And I just realized, there it is. I just realized I forgot to put my torch back in here, so I'm going to do that real quick. Now, as these villagers attempt to sleep, the zombie will keep jumping up and down. We'll put our F3B, show hitboxes, and you can kind of see line of sight. How the zombie's line of sight is continuously broken occasionally, but every time it bobs up and down, he'll catch line of sight with these guys again and wake them up out of bed. So now, at this point, when I tested this one, I was getting a golem spawning about every 45 seconds, 50 seconds or so, with just one single pod. As I said before, I was getting about 32 blocks an hour with just one pod, which is pretty good, especially if you put this someplace you're working constantly, or, you know, in your spawn chunks where it's going to constantly run. That's a pretty good drop rate. But if you want to increase that, what you're going to want to do is follow those same steps, starting from the opposite corner. So again, not this block here, but you're going to want to do it from this block here. You'll go 16 blocks up and then start building from the bottom up. So I'll show you what that looks like real quick. Okay, now we got our second pod in. Golem spawned on our first one. One should be spawning any moment on our second one. Okay, there's a spawn. So what looked like happened is, I don't know, maybe one of those villagers was just so scared of the zombie that he was frozen and couldn't move in fear, you know. Happens. I get it. It's understandable. But I turned it back to day, so they moved around a little bit. They weren't quite as scared. And then turned it back to night. And once night hit again, or dusk hit again, then all 3 of them had attempted to sleep by that point, and a golem spawned, as you can see. So I changed the 2 water sources, how I was explaining a little while ago, to only have one in each corner, just to kind of demonstrate what I was talking about, how there's not enough space in this center. So if there's one directly in the center, you can see them kind of bump into the other one and want to go off to the side. Well, when you get, 2 pods isn't even so bad, but when you get 4 or 6 or 8 or whatever, I was having issues with 4 pods. I could only imagine what 6 or 8 or 10 pods would be like. They need to be spread out more. So at that point, it's not hard to add an extra couple of blocks or a couple buckets of water along the back there. I would just do it from the get-go personally. But like I said, once you have more pods, they're going to need to spread out more. They're going to have to be burning all the way along this whole length, basically constantly. But okay, so that's... Making 2 pods is relatively simple. You just follow the corner up, same as you do the first pod, 16 blocks, and then start from your soul sand right there. That's about the best, I think that's going to be the best way to work this one. Now, when it comes to stacking them, it's important that you stack a certain distance here, and I'm going to show you why right now. So if I change this to spectator mode, and I go inside here with our villagers, I'm going to change it back to creative mode. I'm going to go right in the center. And I have a mod called Mini HUD. You can get this on CurseForge. So I have this set to 16 block radius sphere shape. Now if I turn that on, it's going to create a sphere or a ball shape all the way around us, with this being the center, right where our villagers are. So we need to make sure that these villagers aren't looking for an iron golem already spawned within this radius. Let me get out of here and we'll change this to spectator mode, and then back to, no, not survival, back to creative. So as you can see, they're high enough, actually you could probably even drop it down a block or two, but they're high enough away from the killing tray that where if there's a golem in here or in here, they're not going to spot it, and they're going to want to spawn a new one. Now we need to make sure that same thing applies above it, to make sure that these villagers cannot see a golem above it, or vice versa, the villagers that are above it cannot see a golem right there. So what we want now, this one might be a little bit trickier to build. You can just use some scaffolding, I'm sure, to get up there. Maybe a temporary block in here somewhere. So you're going to want a 16 block gap in between this wall and the wall of the next pod up above. Okay, I take that back. It is a 17 block gap in between. So from the top of the wall on your first pod, 17 blocks to the bottom of the wall on your second pod. Basically, I was wrong. They look in a 16 block horizontally for golems, but it's only a 13 block vertical search for golems. So now at this point we can get a zombie in here, name him, get 3 villagers in there. Don't need this anymore. And now at nighttime we should be spawning golems. Okay, I went ahead and I got the 4th pod installed also. And now let's turn it to nighttime. Make sure everybody wants to try to sleep. So we'll watch this one first. Well, apparently nobody wants to try to sleep. Okay, so I had to go through another day-night cycle. But now it appears that these guys are trying to sleep and spawning golems. At least these guys are. I don't know what these guys' problem is. There we go. There we go. One other thing I was going to try is just quick closing these trapdoors. Allows them to move around, attempt to sleep a little bit, break line of sight with the zombie again. But all appears to be working now. So you should have something that looks a little bit like this. You'll see that they're all slightly off-center, just a touch. And actually, they're all doing a pretty good job right now of spreading out, just how I wanted them. Alright, anyways, I think that's going to wrap this one up. This, like I said, I hope this is a original design. I spent quite a bit of time doing some research. I couldn't find anything like this. You know, there's some similarities and some differences, but overall I kind of studied mechanics and looked at different designs to see how they functioned, and I wanted to build something that was expandable, tileable, stackable, so that you could start from relatively early game and expand as needed when you need more iron. Like I said, I don't see any limits on this. You could probably go up to build height and down to bedrock. I haven't experimented with that, so don't quote me on it, but you know, one other thing I'll say is if this is not an original design and you guys know somebody who has made this, please let me know. I am more than willing to give credit to that person, and I'm not in the business of taking credit from somebody else. This is an art form, and artists should be credited for their work. But anyways, guys, let me know what you think. Hopefully this is relatively simple for you guys to build in your own worlds and produces enough iron. Like I say, it's not the most efficient, but it's easy to build, I think, in my opinion. And you can do it from early on in the game. So hopefully it works out well for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, do me a favor and hit that like button for me. Don't forget to subscribe. Share this video if you think other people you know will like it. But until next time, everybody, you guys stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you again.